MK party rocked by resignation as it awaits Zuma judgment. The uMkhonto weSizwe party MKP has been rocked by the resignation of its legal advocate Mashudu Tshivhase shortly before the May 29 elections. In a letter to MPK's acting Secretary General Sihle Ngubane, Tshivhase told the party's interim national leadership that he wanted to continue practicing as an advocate. With due courtesy to the tribunal and or quasi-judicial body before which I serve, I've decided to resign from my position as a member of the MK party with immediate effect, he said. Tshivhase added, as a legal practitioner entrusted with the duty of administering the law as a rule for the transactions of mankind and binding them to what is right and honorable, it is imperative that I always remain unbiased and impartial. He said he wanted to avoid any potential conflict of interest in his line of duty, hence his resignation from MKP. Tshivhase's resignation follows party founder Jabulani Khumalo's expulsion. MKP faced off against the Electoral Commission of SA IEC at the Constitutional Court on Friday over the eligibility of former President Jacob Zuma to be a candidate in this month's polls. The IEC appealed the Electoral Court's ruling handed down last month to allow Zuma to be a candidate despite him having been sentenced to 15 months jail for a concept of court conviction in 2021. The Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, CASAC, Corruption Watch and the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation made submissions as amici curiae, friend of the court. MKP argued that the amici curiae were not bringing anything new but merely repeating the IEC submissions. CASAC argued that a remission of sentence did not reduce the sentence imposed by a court but simply brought forward the date of release or completion of the sentence, as well as that the requirements that an available appeal process must first be exhausted was designed to ensure finality and nothing else. The MK maintained that CASA's oversimplified arguments that remission was irrelevant solely on the basis that its limited effect, which was to simply bring forward a person's date of release, was unlike a reprieve and pardon. MKP said, CASAC seems to suggest that because the power to grant a permission is not only reserved for the president, unlike pardoning and reprieve, but shared with the correctional and parole board, it does not have a legal effect on the sentence. It is purely a mechanism used to facilitate the execution of sentence and administration of prisons. According to the IEC, the question it faced was whether Zuma had been convicted of an offense and sentenced to more than 12 months jail, which would render him ineligible to stand as a candidate for the National Assembly in terms of the Constitution. The IEC said it appealed the Electoral Court's decision in the public interest and in furtherance of its constitutional duty to manage elections. The Commission added that the Electoral Court fundamentally erred by finding that Zuma qualified to stand in the May 29th elections. Judgment was reserved on Friday. Meanwhile, MK Party hit back at IEC ahead of Zuma's appeal case in the Constitutional Court. The uMkhonto weSizwe party MKP has slammed the Electoral Commission of South Africa's comments, and the former President Jacob Zuma's legal team had no grounds to ask 6 Constitutional Court judges to recuse themselves from the matter. The MKP and the IEC are ready to square up in the Apex Court on Friday after the elections body appealed the ruling of the Electoral Court. which found Zuma was eligible to run as a candidate in the May elections, despite being handed a 15-month prison sentence by the Constitutional Court in June 2021. Zuma and the MPK want the sixth justice who sentenced him to 15 months imprisonment in 2021 for contempt of court to recuse themselves. On Thursday, the IEC said no matter the outcome of the appeal, it would have no bearing of the election as all electoral processes have been concluded and no more changes to the ballot or the electoral lists could be made. Spokesperson of MKP, Ndlela, commenting on their recusal application, slammed the IEC and accused them of interfering in issues that were not of their concern, stating that they must focus on the appeal and not their recusal application. They were overreaching in a jurisdiction that has got nothing to do with them, and they are seeking advice from, and they now want to decide as to who must preside on the matter. It doesn't make sense, he said. Asked whether Zuma was ready for the legal showdown, Ndlela said it was not a case of being ready or not, but rather a question of whether their quest for the justices to be recused has been accepted. There are certain people who must recuse themselves, he said. Zuma, who is now the leader and face of the MKP, said he and his party are of the firm view that 6 of the justices would be biased against him. According to the IEC, the ruling of the Electoral Court in the Zuma matter was problematic for the work of the IEC, and they wanted the Apex Court to rule on the matter once and for all. They said as the elections body, they were mandated to ensure that candidates who stood for the elections could stand in the National Assembly once elected. And that's it from Injibs Network. Stay tuned to our celebrity and gossip news.